Yeah, I hear you. Bro, what guy part in the Red Sea got to do with the game, bro? Peace, students. What's up? It's your boy, Pastor Najari, and we're back with another message on Sunday. I hope you're having a great morning. Hey, you know what? In the midst of graduation season, it made me pull out my yearbook, man. Y'all want to see something? Check this out. Look at that handsome young man. I look good. I looked good. I hope you're excited for the word today. Are you ready?
Higher, let's go.
Got some more millions that keep me in that. I created history, it made me alive. He tried to lift me and ended on fire. We call him Chopper.
In the midst of COVID-19, we've been in a series called Exodus 14, Red Sea Rules. And it's a series based off of the Israelites' great escape from Egypt in Exodus chapter 14. With Moses as their chosen leader, God delivered the Israelites from Israel's captivity and parted the Red Sea because, you know, God does it big. But remember, it all wasn't easy. And in today's world, we're presented with some of the same challenges that the Israelites had to face in Exodus chapter 14. See, in this series, we're given 10 ways or 10 rules that we can face tough times and experience what God has best for us. This week, I want to start off with a story. See, most of you all know that I was born and raised on Candler Road, and I stayed in these apartments called Eastwick. My address was 288 Eastwick Circle. I'll never forget it. And growing up, my grandmother stayed with us for some point in time. And as a kid, I loved to play outside. I don't know if a lot of y'all still do that, but we played outside a ton. We had video games, but we only had 2 TVs in the house. We had one in my mother's room and we had one downstairs. But when my grandmother stayed with us, she had full reign over the TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, my grandma would watch like Judge Joe Brown, and she watched the same channel like all day. All the soap operas came on that same channel, and it just cycled. And we was like, bro, like, can we watch something else? Like Kids WB, y'all don't know that about that. But I love to go outside because I couldn't stay in the house and play the game. And when it stormed, it forced us to have to come in the house with our grandmother. But when it stormed, we couldn't even watch the things that she watched because my grandmother had this thing to where when we came in the house, we had to turn off all of the TVs and we had to turn off all of the lights and sit down. And she had this saying, and she would say, be still, be quiet, and let God work. Did anybody have like a grandparent, a parent, or a guardian that was kind of like my grandmother? Let me know in the chat. Like, comment if your grandparents or your parents was kind of like my grandmother and you had to turn off everything when it stormed and just let God work. Well, this week we'll be focusing on rule number 5, which is keep calm and give God time to work. The main text today is Exodus 14, and we'll be looking at verses 11 and 12. Let's read together. And they said to Moses, is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in this here desert? What in the world have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Isn't this what we told you in Egypt? Leave us alone so that we can serve the Egyptians. Because it is better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die here in this desert. See, the Israelites forgot all of the things up until this point that God had done. And fear was causing them to not have faith in God. And we're going to talk about fear today. But you know me, and I like to look at things in the light of the whole Bible. So that's what we're going to do today. I want to present to you this view that some have of the Bible, which is actually not the right view to have, which is called the cosmic struggle. Some of you all may have not heard of this, but you have heard this saying, the battle between good and evil. And that's what the cosmic struggle means. See, it's a misconception that people have of the Bible, that there's this battle between good and evil. There's this battle, that war between God being good and Satan being bad. And that's just not true. See, this view creates some problems because this view makes God and Satan the same in power, and they're not. The truth is that God is all powerful. He's omnipotent, and he's all-knowing. He's omniscient. And that doesn't make Satan number 2, not at all. Satan is dead last. Satan has zero power in comparison to God. God has all power. God is all-knowing. Satan has no power whatsoever. This leads me to my first point, faith or fear. God constantly reminds us not to be afraid because he knows Satan's greatest weapon is fear. See, Satan knows he has no power in the physical realm. Satan is kind of like a magician, and he'll use his tricks to manipulate you and to make you think that he has more power than he actually does. He cannot force you to do anything, but he can use your fears to trick you and manipulate you. And that's exactly what he'll do. He'll use your fears to hinder you, to make you think that God is not present in the midst of whatever you're going through. See, fear is a feeling, but faith is an action. And I believe God is trying to make us not think so much of our feelings, but to use truth and put our faith into action. Steve Furtick says it like this. He says, faith is not the absence of fear and doubt, but the means to overcome it. I want to ask you a few questions. In this time, how has Satan been trying to use fear to make you feel like you're alone? Has he convinced you that God doesn't care about you, that your family and your friends doesn't care about you? Has he tricked you that God has abandoned you, that just left you in the midst of this time? See, the Israelites fell into Satan's trap, and during the struggle and the trial that they were in of trying to escape from captivity, Satan had tricked them and manipulated them into thinking that they were alone and abandoned and that God was no longer in their presence. And I believe that in COVID-19, it has made us think the same thing. For some of us, we've thought that God has abandoned us, that he's not here, and that he does not have power to get us and see us through him. But remember, just like I've been telling you in this message, we have to activate our faith in the midst of fear and doubt. We're reminded in Jeremiah 29:11, and it says this, "For I know what I have planned for you, says the Lord. I have plans to prosper you, not to harm you. I have plans to give you a future filled with hope." That's Jeremiah 29:11. See, we have to be reminded by verses like this to activate our faith and be reminded that God is with us no matter what. Years later, I see what my grandmother was teaching me. And I see that she was trying to tell us that we are to just keep calm and give God time to work. See, my grandmother wasn't the first person. She isn't going to be the last to remind us of this historic truth that God is always going to be with us no matter what. I hope this message encourages you today, and I hope it grows your faith. Until next time, it's your boy, Pastor Najari. I love you. Peace.